Good evening, Newark. On behalf of the city of Newark, I welcome you all here to this occasion. My name is Gerard Crowder. I'm Assistant Director of the Department of Economic and Housing Development here at the city of Newark. Under the leadership of Mayor Raj Baraka, we bring to you this community information session on the Homeownership Revitalization Program. Tonight, we will give you detailed information, and we will also let you know why this program is so historic and so important. Before we move on with tonight's program, I'd like to acknowledge our mayor who is here, who will be here us briefly and would like to provide some words. So without, continue to go? All right, I heard that. You all heard that directly from your mayor. All right, so what we'll do is I would like to introduce a couple people who are here who will be presenting to you all tonight. One is our deputy mayor and director of our department, Allison Ladd, provides leadership on this project, as well as our friends at NACA, our program administrators, as well as our friends also at Invest Newark. So, at the end of this, as you can imagine, we'll have a pretty robust question and answer session, but we will make sure to go through great detail and answer all of your questions. We know you're all excited to find out about this program. We're excited to bring it to you as part of our equitable growth agenda here in the city of Newark. You can start out. So this program that we're excited to bring you, again, the Homeownership Revitalization Program, was made possible recently by changes to one of the existing programs here in the city of Newark. And what that did was enable us to do a few things. First and foremost, to sell city-owned land at greatly reduced prices. Many of you all know, have affectionately heard of this program as the Dollar Home Program, right? It also enabled us to name program administrators. And so, as opposed to simply selling land at reduced prices in which we can all afford, we also wanted to make sure that we increase the odds of success. Success at home ownership, long-term sustained home ownership. We know that it's vitally important for us to increase the number of homeowners here in the city of Newark. And so this is why we bring this program to you. What you're going to hear tonight is a way for us to begin building wealth, stabilizing our communities, and really making a great impact. And so this is all about establishing self-determination for Newark residents, those who are here determining where they live and how they live. And so we're excited to bring this program to you. And so this presentation is going to be filled with details and various presenters, but we want to begin with our friends at NACA, Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America. We have a few presenters here. I'm going to introduce them. Mr. Bruce Marks, who is with NACA National, and also Mr. Gregory Hargrave, who's right here locally with NACA Newark. And so without further ado, we will bring them up.
It is great to be here. Look, we're thrilled to be in partnership with your mayor, Raj Baraka, and this is going to set the national standard. So before I start, if you heard that you can get a mortgage with no down payment, no closing costs, no fees, at a below market fixed rate, and without consideration of your credit score, how many people say that sounds too good to be true, what's a scam? So if you didn't raise your hand, you're not doing your homework, because there's more abuse, there's more fraud in the mortgage industry than any other industry. People are always trying to rip you off. But NACA, I started NACA 38 years ago. We're an advocacy organization, we're a nonprofit. So as good as it sounds, it's even better. So if you stick with this program, you'll be able to have an opportunity to purchase a home on the best terms in America. So NACA is the only organization that can say we have the best mortgage in America. We're licensed in every state, New Jersey in every state. So when the regulators say, well, you can't say that, we push back and we say, do your homework. And then they come back and they say, yes, it is the best mortgage in this country. So we're your trusted advisor. We're HUD certified. We do about 30% of the counseling in the country. We got this. And we're going to go through the particulars because we want you to ask the questions, because the more you scrutinize it, the better it is. But you control this process. So one of the things that was a criticism of NACA is it takes too long to get through the process. So we fixed that. And what we said is, you control this process. What does that mean? That means for everything that you tell us, you have to verify it. So if you say, this is my income, we want you to we have to have you verify it in whatever type of income it is. It might be a W-2 employment, it might be self-employed, it might be other forms of income. Got to verify it. If you say that these are the assets that I have, you got to verify it. So it's very simple. So we've set up the portal. It's called the member portal on our website. So you'll be able to go through that and you'll be able to, complete that information. And then we can make sure that you will get the counseling. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes to just talk you through, how do we solve affordable home ownership? Number one, it's tough to save. So the NACA solution is no down payment and no closing cost. Not that they're added in, no down payment and no closing costs. Bank eats all the closing costs, okay? Number two, you have the restricted underwriting based on credit score. The NACA solution is that we look at your payment history that you control over the last 12 months. So for example, if you haven't made your medical bill payments, that doesn't mean you're not ready for home ownership. It just says we have a dysfunctional, unaffordable healthcare system. Number three, unaffordable terms. NACA solution always at a below market fixed rate. Today's rate for a 30-year fixed is 5.75%. For a 20-year, it's 5.25%. And you can buy it down. Last is that dealing with racism and biases. Dealing with racism and biases, right? How do we solve that? Well, we do it because once you're NACA qualified, you become a desirable customer for real estate agents, lenders, and sellers. We've done over 75,000 mortgages. We have a foreclosure rate of 0.00012, about 1/100 of 1%. 93% of our homeowners are people of color. And we have $20 billion of this one mortgage product. $20 billion, $15 billion from Bank of America. So we're not going anywhere. We're just growing and expanding. And I should say also, before I forget, we're hiring. So, go to the NACA website at NACA.com and apply for the best job in this country. So with that, what are we doing in Newark? Well, Mayor Barack is doing something that's never been done before. What is that? That means that the city owns vacant lots and the city owns vacant houses. So what is he doing? He's saying, instead of selling them to a developer out there who's going to charge 25, 50% in fees for their overhead and their profit, let's sell it to Newark residents for $1. For $1, absolutely. And then in partnership with Mayor Baraka, we'll provide the financing to either renovate the house or for new construction. And we're going to get into that later on in the program. So that means, so think of this. For new construction, we're looking at a purchase price of less than $150,000. For beautiful homes that fit into the architecture within Newark. And we are going to talk about that. So this is a game changer because you're eliminating the developer fees, you're getting the housing produced at a low cost, And the city is saying, let's give the housing, the properties to the Newark residents who have struggled and fought to stabilize Newark, and now you can get the benefits of that without having outside people coming in, taking those homes. That's what Mayor Baraka has done. So with that, let me turn it over to Derek Branham. He is the regional director for NACA, and then he's going to talk about the counseling that we're going to be doing, and then we're going to talk, and Greg's going to talk about the event that we're going to be doing here in about a week and a half.
Okay.
Guys?
Thank you, Mr. Marks. Mr. Marks. It's hard going behind this gentleman. He does this every time. He speaks about everything I want to talk about, so I don't know what else to say, but welcome. So good to see so many faces. Can you all hear me okay? Yes. Can you all hear me okay? Yes. Y'all don't hear me. Y'all don't hear me. If you love yourself, say I do. I do. If you can't hear me, blink 2 times so I know you're paying attention. All right, all right. So, Mr. Marks is giving you all the skinny. I'm gonna have to stay behind the mic. He is giving you the skinny pretty much, but we have this event coming up and Greg's gonna speak on it, but I wanna give you all a head start, and that's our counseling portion, okay? And it's not gonna be in full detail because we don't have 3 hours, because that's normally what our workshops are, and we still want you to attend the workshops at the event, but we wanna give you all a head start, okay? And we're gonna start with me being the CIA director. That's credit, that's income, and assets. That's gonna get you through your counseling session. This manual, this is your blueprint, this is your workbook. This shall be your life going through the process. Take it home, read it. When you go through that workshop with the information I'm gonna provide this evening, as well as you reading this workbook, you're gonna be able to qualify yourself. You're gonna be able to tell the counselor, hey, I've done my research, I've read, and I do have this. You understand? I'm going to say it again. This is going to be your life. If you are serious, read this book.
Hey, Derek, there are more coming, so I know people are asking.
We have some more workbooks coming, okay? So, credit. We don't care about a credit score. Our comprehensive counseling is based on character-based lending. What does that mean? We're looking at the character of your payment history over really the last 24 months and concentrating on 12 months, okay? It's the character of it. So you say, hey, Derek, I had a hard time 2 or 3 years ago. My credit score is kind of jacked up. I went through a divorce. I had illness. I had to pay for a funeral. We understand. This is a second chance program. We look at the entire character, but what have you done within the last 24 months? Have you paid your rent on time? I have. But I live with family. Are you saving money? I am. Okay. The one thing we don't want you to do is disqualify yourself. Read this manual, this workbook, your lifeline. We'll do the rest for you, okay? So that's the credit. We're worrying about the history. Job. The last 24 months is what we're looking for. The history. No 30 days gap within the last year. Let me say that again. No 30 days gap within the last year. Do we have some exceptions to the rule? There's always an exception. This is NACA. We are the exception. We just need to know what the situation is, and we figure a way around it, okay? So don't disqualify yourself. If you went from self-employed to W-2 back to self-employed, let us figure it out for you. This is what we do, okay? So now we got credit, we don't care about. We know about the income, right? We know about if you're on Social Security, fixed income. We use that, okay? Then there's assets, because if somebody tells you, hey, I got my house and I didn't have to put nothing down, I got it for free. Or they lied. They lied to you. You gotta have skin in the game. Nothing is given. It has to be earned. Skin in the game. You all know what that means? Got to bring some cheddar to the table, some of that luchi, that green, that moolah, that dinero. See? When you have what we need, credit, income, assets, we can get you qualified. With NACA, we don't say you can't get qualified. No, we say when you can get qualified. It's not an if. You got to work the plan. Then let me tell you what's not a plan. Hope. Hope is not a plan. Okay? You all need to know that. It takes hard work. You have to be diligent and do the work. Hope is not a plan. Hope is not going to get you a house. Okay? It's not. Hard work, being diligent, doing as your counselor asks. Are there going to be some challenges? Yes, there will be. Frustrated? Absolutely. But anything worth having, you got to struggle to get it sometimes. All right? So I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just wanted you all to understand that, listen, do not disqualify yourself. Come to the event. Credit, income, assets. I'm going to go through one more thing and I'm going to turn it over to Greg. The documents that you're going to need at that event, because we do on-the-spot qualifications. That means you can come in, go through your workshop, get your comprehensive counseling, and go over here to underwriting and get qualified the same day. We're going to be here from the 23rd through the 27th. Okay? If you can't get it done in one day, well, shucks, you come back the next. Work hard at it. All right? So these are the documents that we need. Income, pay stubs, most recent 30 days. All right? So if you're self-employed, you're going to need 2 years of tax returns to prove your income for everyone. All right? So pay stubs, tax returns, W-2s for any jobs within the last 2 years. Tax returns for everyone. Transcripts, the most recent 2 years. Y'all notice what I'm saying? What's the operative number there? Say it again. 2. 2 for everything. Okay? I'm sorry. Transcripts. You're gonna get your W-2 transcripts. If you had to pay Uncle Sam some money back, you're going to need an account balance transcript. But just remember your transcripts. Okay? When you go to irs.gov, you're going to see, just click them all and bring them. Better to be safe than be sorry, okay? We will get a verification of employment for you all. Listen to me when I tell you this. This is important. We verify rent. It's character-based lending. You can tell me you paid your rent on time, but we check and verify. We have core principles. We wear your shoes, but we check and we verify. And we don't relent. Those are our core principles. Okay? So we got credit, we got income, we got assets. We know we need pay stubs. We need bank statements. The most recent 90 days of bank statements. That's 3 months, all accounts. You can't hide anything from us. We're going to find it. We're going to find it. Don't just be honest with us because we want to help you, okay? Hold on a second. We can't do all the questions right now. All right. I think that, all right, skin in the game, payment shock. So let's say you're living with family. When we asked about the savings, in most cases we need 6 months to show whatever you saved. Because in reality, whatever you all are paying in rent, that's pretty much what you can afford in a mortgage payment, right? Now, payment shock is a different of what you're currently paying now in your current rent, and if your income allows you to pay more. So the difference between what you're currently paying now and what you want to get to, if your income allows, is the payment shock. So what's the best way for me to see that? In your bank statements, because you're saving it every month. Okay? So in most cases, it's 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, depending on what your circumstances are. All right? All right, I think I've given you all the skinny. Come on over. This is Gregory Hargrave. He's the office director for Newark. You all will see him a lot.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
No problem.
Hello, folks. Quickly, before we bring Gregory on, I'd just like to acknowledge a few folks who just stepped in the room. I know we had our honorable councilman from the West Ward, Mr. Dupre Kelly. Are you still in here? Are you here, Councilman Kelly? All right. Well, I believe I just saw also, oh, there we go. All right. And we also have Councilman at Large, Honorable Councilman Larry Crump, who's in the background as well. Are there any more council persons that I missed? Just wanted to acknowledge you all. All right, so thanks for being here with us. At this point, we're going to bring up Mr. Gregory Hargrave, who's now from NACA Newark, the local office. This is the individual who you'll see if you go to the NACA office. And what we're going to do is walk you through some of the particulars. You'll be able to see the slides, so that way those folks at home who don't have the benefit of the handouts can go along with us and see what some of the details are. So with that being said, we thank you all for being with us. We obviously have a packed house here, and we look forward to also fielding questions at the end, of course. That's extremely important. We want to make sure that everybody's clear before we leave here, so we'll save questions and answers for the end. And there's also a treat, too, as well as there are some illustrations regarding some of the modular concepts that we plan to be able to use in partnership. And so you all will get a sense of what those might look like as well for some of the parcels that are vacant lots. And so with that being said, Mr. Gregory Hargrave, where'd you go? Right behind me? Perfect. Come on up, Gregory.
Thank you, Gerard. Thank you, Derek. Good evening, Newark. Good evening. Good evening, Newark. Good evening. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I am Greg Hargrave. I'm the office director for the NACA Newark office. I lead a team of 11 counselors now. Just in the last week, we've doubled in size, and about 7 in-house agents. My office covers all of New Jersey. We cover most of New York, parts of Delaware, and parts of Pennsylvania. So before I get started, by a show of hands, how many Newarkers do we have who have been residents for at least 30 years? Okay, represent. Anyone above 30 years? What's that number? 51 years. Wow, give her a round of applause. So this is for you, and this is an initiative that has been in the works for some time. We're proud that it's finally coming into fruition, and I can tell you and assure you that it is absolutely true. So you're going to learn more about the program. I'm going to start out by talking about the upcoming homeownership event that we have. It's going to be here in Newark at the Robert Treat Hotel. It's going to be June 23rd through the 27th. So everyone should have a flyer, and we also have a slide that shows some information on the upcoming workshop. For those of you that are not NACA members, how many NACA members do we have here with us today? All right, welcome. Give them a round of applause. So everyone here today is encouraged to attend the event. You can register online. Registration is not required. Walk-ins are welcome. The event will run from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. So as long as you come between those hours, you will have an opportunity to meet with the counselor. My counseling resources will be there on site. The commitment each day is to counsel until everyone's seen. So it's not uncommon that we're there till midnight, sometimes 1, 2 in the morning, and then they wake up and they do it again 8 o'clock in the morning. So, we have, well over 100 counselors that's going to be committed to this process. It's going to be a 5-day event. We'll also have, and you'll learn a little bit more about some of our partners, but we're going to have the modular manufacturer on site. So you'll have an opportunity to see firsthand some of the designs that will be available for the new constructions on some of the lots that you'll have an opportunity to buy. You'll learn firsthand about the technology. You'll be able to touch it and feel it, have your questions answered. So it's going to be an unprecedented event. I mean, our history spans back over 30 years, and we're well accustomed to hosting events in major metropolitan cities across the country. This event in 2023, June at the Robert Treat, is probably going to be by far the greatest event that we've held for home buyers. So Newark will serve as the host to one of the largest NACA homebuyer events in our history. Right now, we have over 13,000 households registered. That means that we're expecting upwards of maybe 25,000 attendees over the 5-day period. So I encourage each of you to register. You're not required to attend the day that you register, although it helps us to manage the actual traffic. You definitely want to get there as early as possible. When you register, you should receive an email with all of the information that's going to be required. So a lot of the documentation that Derek discussed today, that information you want to have available with you on hand. The first step, if you're not an existing NACA member, would be to attend a workshop. The workshop will be about 3 hours. You'll get credit for attending a HUD certified or HUD accredited homebuyers workshop, and you can get access to that certificate on demand. After you attend the workshop, then we'll shuttle you into what's known as the ballroom space. There you'll have an opportunity to go to the scanning station, and we'll have staff on hand to help you scan your documents into our state-of-the-art member portal. Once you get everything complete, or at least 90% complete, you'll have an opportunity to meet with one of our dedicated counselors, and they're going to counsel you through home ownership, financial management, credit counseling, debt counseling, and home ownership counseling. You complete that process. If you have all your documentation in your file, they'll submit your file to be reviewed by an underwriter. Underwriter will review your file, and they'll either approve you to start shopping for a home same day. If you're not approved, they'll send it back requesting additional information. It's a 5-day event, so you'll have an opportunity to go home, get the additional information, come back the same day, or return a different day and continue in the process. So, our goal is to qualify thousands of members for our, mortgage products so that you can start shopping. We'll also keep a list of what we consider to be qualified residents. So in order to participate in the dollar home ownership program, you have to be a resident of Newark, and you also have to qualify for the NACA mortgage. So we'll maintain a list, and then once we have a full list, we receive the list of properties from the city. The next step will be for us to set up schedule inspections. So we have inspectors that will go out to the lots. They'll inspect the actual foundation for the existing structures. They will go out and they will inspect the homes. And then what they'll do with that information is they'll upload the inspection report to our portal. That will go to our internal hand department, which is responsible for evaluating the condition of properties. They'll generate what's known as a repair list, and that repair list will estimate exactly what it will cost to renovate that property. Based upon the cost of renovations, we'll narrow down a list to what we consider to be viable projects, and then we'll send that list out to all the qualified residents. And then you'll have an opportunity to submit your interest. It'll be about a 30-day period for that. You indicate your first interest, your second interest, and your third interest. And then we'll talk a little bit about the lottery process. So just to kind of follow the slides, can everyone see the screen? So the eligibility criteria is pretty straightforward. You have to be a resident of Newark. If you're no longer a resident of Newark, then you can qualify as a former resident as long as you lived in Newark for 5 consecutive years within the last 10 years. Some of the documentation that will substantiate your residency will be your photo ID, your tax returns, bank statements, and W-2s. Other eligibility criteria, which is typical for NACA, is that you cannot be an existing homeowner, which means that you can't have an ownership interest in a property. That's an eligibility requirement. The other eligibility requirement would be that your qualifying income, which is the income that we're going to use on your mortgage application and to determine how much you can afford for a monthly mortgage payment, cannot exceed 100% of the area median income. Does anyone know what the area median income is for the greater Newark area? I guess we all can read, right? It's $116,900 today. That number is adjusted annually, so it could change. This number is still pulling from 2022. We expect that that'll go up to maybe about 124, maybe in July sometime whenever they post the new figures. But right now, that's the benchmark. So as long as your qualifying income is $116,900 or less, then you would be eligible from an income perspective. Yeah. So we'll open it up for questions at the end. For now, if you have a workbook, you can write your questions down. If you don't have anything to write with, just make a note in your phone of your question, and then we'll address them at the end. Okay? There's also going to be, there's an example there in terms of, what your area median income will be. There's going to be some priority given depending upon your income. So for those households or the qualifying income that's, lower than the area median income, you'll have greater priority in terms of your choices and the probability of you actually being selected. So there's an example on the screen that kind of speaks towards that. So for example, if your qualifying income falls between 80% and 51% of the AMI, then what will happen is you'll have maybe 100% greater probability of your name being selected for your first, second, or third choice. So as there's different tiers in terms of additional criteria that we consider, whereby your probability of being selected increases. So a lot of that information is documented in the presentation that you have. Okay. So there will be a lottery. The lottery will be based upon, the different criteria that you fall into. As I mentioned earlier, you will have the choice to choose 3 properties. If your name is not selected for your number 1 choice, then your name rolls over to your number 2 choice. If your name is not selected for your number 2 choice, then it rolls over to your number 3 choice. So in terms of the lottery procedures, what we're going to do is, and I have to credit the city of Newark for coming up with this genius idea. The lottery is going to be an actual model home with a set of keys. The keys will have your name on it, and the keys will be placed in the box, and then someone from the community will draw the names, and that will determine, how you're selected. So residents will be given 3 keys. Mortgage counseling. Lottery, real estate services. So a little bit about the NACA qualification process. Derek spoke to you about, the purchase qualification requirements, the criteria to qualify, some of the documents that we'll be looking at. But to give you a high-level perspective of the overall process, first step is to become a NACA member. So most people are introduced to our organization by word of mouth. There's a lot on social media as well. And then they'll explore our website, get a lot of information, and indicate at that point they'll feel like they want to move forward in the process. So the first step would be to register for an upcoming homebuyer workshop. The June 23rd through 27th event will host 3 workshops each day over the 5-day period. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity to become a NACA member. You attend the workshop. At the conclusion of the workshop, you will be given a NACA ID. Once you're issued that NACA ID, you'll be given access to our state-of-the-art member portal, and then you'll be able to start uploading your documents, complete all your information, and then the very next step traditionally would be to schedule an intake appointment. Now, typically, it could take somewhere between 30 days to 60 days before you can meet with a counselor. The benefit of going to the Achieve the Dream event is that you go to the workshop. Immediately following the workshop, you'll be able to meet with the counselor. So there is no waiting period to meet with the counselor. The counselor will evaluate your eligibility. They'll evaluate all of your finances. They'll give you an affordability evaluation as well, tell you how much you can afford in terms of a monthly mortgage payment. They'll assess your homeownership interest, whether you're interested in buying a single family or multifamily, condo, co-op, all of those things, and mixed-use properties as well. Those things will be eligible for purchase throughout this program. So they'll help you decide what you want to buy and then track you or help guide you towards home ownership. So once you complete the counseling session at the event, if you meet the criteria, they'll send your documents to underwriting, you'll either be approved or requested or sent back with a request for additional information. If you're fortunate enough to qualify, and we expect well over 1,000 people to qualify over the course of that 5-day period, the next step would be to attend a purchase workshop. So typically, our purchase workshops are held every Thursday at the local office, 60 Park Place. They typically run from about 6 p.m. to 7:30, 8 p.m. They're typically facilitated by an in-house agent, a NACA in-house realtor, and what they do is provide step-by-step guidance on what to expect throughout the purchase process. At the event, we'll also run the purchase workshops daily. So once you qualify, you'll be able to immediately go to a purchase workshop, understand what your responsibilities will be throughout the purchase phase of the process, and then at that point, you'll start shopping for a home. So for those of you that intend to participate in this process, we'll keep a list of the names, and then you'll move into the process whereby we start to do our due diligence on the properties. We send you the list of properties, you indicate your interest, you send that information back into your counselor, and then once we're ready to move forward with the lottery, then you'll all be notified and we'll have the lottery. For those of you that intend to shop in the general market, to shop in the MLS, then at that point, once you're qualified, you attend a purchase workshop. You'll be able to download what's known as your qualification letter and qualification form. It shows what mortgage payment you were qualified for. It shows that you are qualified. That's the document that you would give to a realtor. Now, we have a team of in-house realtors that know our program quite well. It's always recommended that you work with a NACA in-house agent, but you have the option to work with any agent of your choice. So at that point, you would give that document to your agent, and they would start to assist you in your home shopping if you're going to shop on the open market. Once we do the lottery process and your name is selected, the next phase would be to move to a contract stage. So at that point, you're going to be working with our attorneys. As Bruce Mark mentioned, NACA's Bank of America will cover all of your closing costs. You know, you're going to get 100% financing, so no down payment. The closing costs will be covered. You'll have an opportunity to work with a NACA attorney or NACA affiliated attorney, and they'll represent you throughout the closing process. So we'll start the contract. Once the contract is finalized and executed, at that point, while you're also going through the contract phase, you'll be working with our hand department, and the hand department will help to scope out your full renovation project, right? So they'll start with everything that's required in consultation with you. In addition to the required repairs, if you have any wish list repairs or you have HGTV aspirations, you can discuss that with the hand department and say, hey, you know, I would also like to finish the basement and add a bathroom in the basement in my home. So those are some of the things that you can discuss in addition to all the required repairs. You get to choose all of your finishes. You get to choose, you know, what your appliances look like. All these things, all these decisions will be left to you. So as you're going through the hand process, at some point, they'll give you a final budget and a scope of work. The final budget will be a detailed budget that specifies exactly how much you're approved for or how much we're requesting in renovation financing. So with the renovation financing, the way that it works, which is a feature of the NACA mortgage. So regardless if you're participating in this program or you're just purchasing a home in the general market, every mortgage that we underwrite for NACA also includes renovation financing, assuming that your mortgage payment is enough to finance additional renovations. So with the dollar lot program, you'll be able to buy the property from the city for $1. How many people have $1? Guess what? You don't even need your $1. Because NACA is going to pay the $1, and then through that hand process, they'll scope out what the renovations are. So hypothetically, you purchase a home for $1, and let's say the renovation estimates is about $200,000. Then what will happen from that point is the hand department will finalize your renovation budget at $200,000. You'll have the purchase for $1. Your full mortgage amount will be $201,000. Bank of America will finance the full $201,000, assuming that you qualify for a mortgage payment that's enough to finance $201,000. and also assuming that the home is going to be worth at least $201,000 when the project is done. And then also, the project has to be completed in 6 months. Another great benefit of this program is that during the time that the project is underway, for up to 6 months, you're not required to make any mortgage payments. You own the property, you're responsible for the renovations, you're responsible for hiring your own contractors. They'll have to meet the NACA criteria, they have to be licensed, insured, et cetera, but you'll be responsible for overseeing your project with the assistance of the hand department. And for 6 months, your mortgage payments will go into a forbearance period. So you don't have to make any mortgage payments. You can continue to rent wherever you live. And the benefit of that is that your mortgage payment will not increase. Your mortgage balance will increase slightly, but the lender is going to reduce your interest rate by about 1/3 so that your mortgage payment remains flat, or it's actually going to be lower than it was before you added the renovation project for 6 months. So once you go through the renovation project, you'll be working with your contractor. At some point, the project will be finished. Hopefully, it'll be finished on time and it'll be finished on budget. The hand department always requires that there is at least a 10% contingency fee. Anybody know what a contingency expense is? What was that? Just in case, right? There's always cost overruns when you're dealing with construction. So if your renovation budget is $200,000, they're going to probably add another 10% just for contingencies, just to make sure that you have enough to cover any overruns. So then once your project is complete, hand will sign off on the project being complete. You'll be responsible for working with your contractor to get the CO, C of O, meaning certificate of occupancy. At that point, your project is finished. You're free to move in your home. You're a homeowner. There are some stipulations around, purchasing the property from the city. The city's going to require that you remain in the property for at least 10 years, right? Because the focus is to have Newarkers invest in Newark and contribute to the city from a long-term perspective. So that's important. And then from a NACA perspective, our mission is neighborhood stabilization through affordable home ownership. And so we require that you live in the home for as long as you have the NACA mortgage, right? That could be 5 years, that could be 50 years, but as long as that home has a NACA mortgage on it, you're going to be required to live there. Next slide. So we talked about the hand department, right? So here's a screenshot of the flyer, screenshot of some of the features of the NACA mortgage: no down payment, no closing costs, no consideration of your credit score. I mean, that in itself is unbelievable, but it is absolutely true. I stand here today as a NACA homeowner. I purchased my home through NACA, and I've benefited from everything that you see there on the screen. So again, for anyone who doesn't have a copy of the flyer, we have more available, and you can take a picture of this slide. It's also available in the presentation. For questions, just write your questions down, and we'll open it up for Q&A towards the end.
Thank you, sir.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
We good. We
Appreciate
good.
it.
Until Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gregory. Really quickly, I just want to acknowledge some of our elected leadership that has entered the council chamber since the last time I was at the podium. We have our council president, LaMonica McIver, who is in the council chambers, along with our councilwoman at large, Louise Scott Roundtree. So just wanted to acknowledge them. Are there any other members of the municipal council who I have not acknowledged and don't necessarily see in the room? Just wanted to make sure. So first and foremost, just want to thank you all for your seriousness, your ambition, and your desire to become homeowners and to help build this city and grow it equitably. The fact that you are here, as many others are, is a testament to that. We've heard some information tonight, and I just want to make sure that we provide not only context, but also additional information. I just want to make sure we're all clear that this program didn't necessarily happen in a vacuum, and we're here for the long term. Here's what I mean by that. We're presenting this to you tonight, but these conversations began almost a year ago in terms of how this program would look when we go to launch it. How can we get city-owned property in the hands of Newark residents, those who wanted to become homeowners? And so not only does that bring us here tonight, but we also have a number of other programs that we'd be remiss not to inform you of, all to promote home ownership here in the city of Newark. Just before I get to those slides, I do want to point out one thing, as we've heard a number of numbers thrown out tonight in terms of how many thousands have registered for the NACA week, and we expect 1,000 to become eligible for this program. Just as this is a long-term project, right? This is something that's thoughtful and that we're committed to. We will be starting out with a first set of properties. Now, that'll be a small number of properties. However, we will continue to feed the pipeline, and so we're so grateful that you all are committed to the process of becoming eligible. This is not merely a transaction of property going from the city to a Newark resident, but really a process and a relationship in order to make sure that folks not only get in their homes, but stay in their homes. It's extremely important in our neighborhoods that we're able to not only establish that wealth, but pass it down for generations to come. So I just want to tell you about a couple other opportunities before we get to the Q&A portion, and also our friends from Invest Newark are also here to tell you about another shot at home ownership as well. So we can go to the slides quickly. If we can go back to the slides. No, just continue on to the next one. So I want to tell you all about, thank you, our Live Newark program. How many of you have heard about Live Newark? Anybody heard of Live Newark? Show of hands. All right, that's why we're here. We want to make sure we make this information available to you, because this is not just one-off. It's not one response. We realize that in order to increase home ownership and also tackle affordability in the city, we're going to have to do a number of things. It has to be a comprehensive approach, not just one particular response. And so in addition to this program, there also has been in existing for a few years now, the Live Newark program. It's two-pronged, really. One is to assist with home ownership. And so the assistance comes in the form of either down payment or closing funds in the amount of $10,000, which is up from $5,000 just last year. So what we're looking at right now is the Home Facade Improvement Program, which is the second prong of that approach, and that is to help existing residents, homeowners who've been in their homes for at least 5 years, to get funds in order to improve the facade, the exterior of their homes. This goes a long way in terms of beautifying our neighborhoods. And so those funds are available. This is a program that's up and running right here through EHD, Economic and Housing Development. I was just speaking about the home ownership program because this is extremely important. We know that based on the data that we needed to increase the amount of funding in order to provide what Newark residents need in order to use as down payment and also closing funds. And so we did that. And we look forward to continuing to improve these programs in order to better meet the needs. But again, there are existing programs. These are two of them. Live Newark. That program is run also here out of EHD, and we'll make sure that we all connect you, as well as provide these brochures that are up here and also some out in the hallway. And so we wanted to take this opportunity, because so few hands went up, to make you all aware of that and let you know that that is in addition to this program here. And some programs that the city offers can also be layered as well to help in this initiative. And so the whole point is to do all we can in order to ensure that as many Newark residents as possible become homeowners here in our city. Last but certainly not least, before we get to the Q&A, what I wanted to do is wanted to bring up another partner in this effort. Again, what the recent amendment to the ordinance did was not only allow us to sell property as low as $1, but also allowed us to have program administrators and also partners in this effort in order to help us get where we're trying to get. And so with that being said, I'd like to bring up to you all Mr. Marcus Randolph, who is the president and CEO of Invest Newark, who is the City of Newark's nonprofit community development corporation. He can tell you all about the Move In program, which is on the next slide. Thank you. Marcus.
Thanks so much, Sherrod. Good evening, everyone. As everybody who's been up here before has mentioned already, thank you so much for coming out and showing your interest in becoming a homeowner. I just want to touch briefly on one of the programs, and let me also mention as well, I want to thank my friends at NACA for doing this. This is a Herculean task, so shout out to them. We do work with NACA, and one of our programs is called Move In Ready, and that's what I'm just talk about very briefly. These are homes that are made available via the land bank. We actually at the moment have 2 houses under this program that are available. Invest Newark has led that as the contractor, as the developer. We've hired local contractors to do the work. As you see on the screen, some of the notes about eligibility, of course, first-time home buyer. In this program, the maximum that you can make is actually lower than what my friends at NACA mentioned. So it's about $93,000, $94,000 for a household. Similarly, you have to go through a HUD-approved homebuyer education course, agree to live in the property as your principal residence for 5 years. And of course, you have to show the land bank by working with a lender that obviously you can get the financing in any combination to be able to afford this home. So these are 2 houses that are available. I would encourage everyone to visit the Land Bank's website. You can get there if you go to investnewark.org, and then you can click on Real Estate, and then you'll see a drop down there for Land Bank. You can register on the Land Bank website. That way you'll get automatic emails when houses become available. Or you can just take a look around. And again, on these 2 properties, we are taking applications, initial applications right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you all for your patience. I know a lot of you had questions, and so we're about to open it up for Q&A. I will just reiterate a couple things, and that is the fact that fortunately most of you have handouts. If you don't, we're generating more copies. That way, the content that was put up on the screen, you all will actually be able to go back and reference. That's number 1. And then number 2, for those of you who are at home, we hope you're able to follow along as well. And so at this point, what we want to do is open it up to questions and answers, as we know you have many. I will just say this as a quick overview before we jump into the detailed questions, just to go over the program again. Dollar homes. That means that the city of Newark will be selling land to eligible Newark residents for $1. That land may have structures on it, or they may be lots. And so that's why we have partnered with, again, a lot of thought went into this program, with not only local builders, but also a company that may be offering a product that'll stay in alignment with the affordability that we're trying to ensure on this project. So without further ado, we will open up the floor for questions and answers. Just keep in mind, again, we will try to be as brief as possible, and we don't want to necessarily have one person asking many questions. So forgive me in advance. I am going to be a traffic cop, so we can make sure we get as many comments in from people as possible.
And if I can add
Yeah, absolutely.
one. Everybody, so we have like 300 to 400 people outside who were not able to get in. Most importantly is that you have to register at NACA.com. If you register there, we'll send you information before the event. So we'll send you a copy of the workbook. We'll send you all that, so you'll be as prepared as possible for when you come and you meet with a NACA counselor to go over your individual circumstances, okay? So most importantly, register at NACA.com, and then we'll send you the information so you will be prepared. Thank you.
All right, we have a few hands that just went up. We're going to start right here with this gentleman. For you folks over in the corner, don't worry, I see you. I promise we will get to you. Before we do, we have approximately, we have about an hour for this portion of it. I would just ask that everyone pays very careful attention to some of the answers that are given. That way we don't necessarily have to go into some of the same information. You'll have other opportunities to go back to that information by way of handout. And again, this will also be explained at the event as well. And there's also frequently asked questions document as well. So you can feel free to contact EHD, Economic and Housing Development, for some information, but NACA is your major point of contact because NACA will be determining eligibility for these properties. All right, sir.
All right, good evening. Thank you all for your time. My name is Kareem Green. I'm with Cage Agency, and one of the questions I have is in regards to the process of helping the homeowners become, get their insurance. Do you help with their homeowner insurance policies? That's one of the things I want to add to the table if that's something that we could talk about as well. That's one of the first parts. Second part is in regards to refinancing the actual mortgage from NACA.
Yeah, you got it.
Refinancing the mortgage from NACA, like what's the time frame before they can refinance the actual mortgage that they have for NACA?
So there was two questions. The first was, does NACA assist with homeowners insurance? And the second was, what's the timeline to refinance the NACA mortgage, correct? So it's interesting. This is a second question, second person who asked me about homeowners insurance. Typically you're shopping for homeowners insurance in the open market. It's always best to first look at your existing insurance company so that you can try and bundle and save on the cost of homeowners insurance. But right now, there's not a lot of resources that we provide in terms of home ownership. We can provide some general guidance, maybe an evaluation of a policy at a very, very high level. But for the most part, the counselor is going to stipulate what's required in terms of coverage. And then you'll be at the disposal of working with, a homeowner's insurance agent, for their expertise.
That's what I wanted to ask. As an insurance producer, I wanted to see if I could improve my services.
So it's a business opportunity.
That can be a conversation that we could have, especially if you can offer some steep discounts, right? for volume business. We're definitely open to any way we can help benefit our members. We'll be looking at that. So I'll be around at the end. The CEO is here as well. He's a decision maker, so you can always track him down. The second question was refinancing. So whenever you purchase a mortgage with NACA, there's a 5-year amortizing lien, $25,000, which amortizes $5,000 per year. So after 5 years, the lien no longer exists. Now, typically, refinancing is never a question with our mortgage because our interest rates are so low, it would not make sense to refinance into a different mortgage. Right? But now interest rates are a little higher. So it is a question on the table, and a lot of people have some concerns. And I think that it's something that we're looking at addressing some point in the future. But the goal is that our homeowners would keep the NACA mortgage for the life of the loan. Obviously, as a NACA member, there's a lot of benefits that you get post-purchase. For example, you still have access to our post-purchase counseling. You still have access to post-purchase resources such as if for some reason you fall on financial hardships, you can reach out to our member assistance department and they'll work with you to make sure that we do everything so that you can retain your home. If that's a 3-month forbearance period on your mortgage, if that's working with the lender to restructure a loan so that the payment is affordable, they're going to pull out every tool that we have in the toolbox to make sure you can retain your home. So, that's really the value of being a NACA member and having a NACA mortgage over the lifetime. Thank you.
Yep. Was that a hand?
Yeah, just one quick question. I know someone mentioned earlier that the cap was 116, that you shouldn't make over that. Is there a number that is capped for you should at least make this much? That's my question.
So like maximum versus minimum.
So one thing I want to be clear on, This program is for owner occupants, not for investors. That doesn't mean you can't make money when you sell your house. It just says, though, that's why we put that lien on there for 5 years, because we don't want someone coming in as an investor, coming in, getting NACA's Best in America mortgage and flipping it right away. But you only pay that if you make a profit on the house, okay? So, but the answer to your question is that if you make less than 100% or less of the median income, you can buy anywhere. So there's no limit on that. If you're a higher income person, then you need to buy a property that is 100% or less of the median in that area. So we are for low and moderate income people and for people buying in low to moderate income areas, if that answers your question. So the 116,000 is not a limit of what you can do.
So let me take this. I'll take this. Unless you want to do it. So, all right. You can follow up if you feel like it. So I understand the question in terms of is there a minimum? Right now, to my understanding, it's not a number per se. But the whole point of working with NACA in order to determine that people are eligible is based on wherever you are, taking a look at where you are financially and making sure that you'll be able to afford the mortgage. So there are a number of variables here. So there is no minimum number per se. Obviously, you need income. But there is no clearly defined number right now in terms of what's the minimum. But you will be working with NACA in order to make sure that the numbers as pertain to you, whether the amount of that mortgage, what your income is, will all work to make sure that you can afford that house and be sustained in that house. So that's the value of having a program administrator who can sit down and work with you one-on-one. So as far as the income maximum is concerned, we do have a definitive number in terms of a minimum, not necessary. That's why we didn't list one. I hope that speaks more to your question. Okay, all right. So where are we? Yeah, I mean we can, but sure.
So just to elaborate a little bit on that point. So the bottom of the program is designed to try to benefit low to moderate income residents. So we're focusing on, so we give residents that are between the 80 to 30% of the AMI an advantage. So to specifically numbers wise, the minimum is more so 30% of the AMI. Right now that's $35,070 a year. That's not to say that if you make less than that, you can't qualify, as long as you, like the assistant director was saying, as long as you can afford the home that you're looking for. So if the NACA counselor says that you can afford a home with a salary of, say, maybe $32,000 a year, then that's fine. They'll walk you through that process, but the amount of home that you can afford for that, well, obviously that number will be lower, all right? Somebody over there, or if you want.
All right, so let's go over here. Let's do some balance. We want to come over here in the corner. We're going to do one over here, and then we'll come back to the middle and then back over here.
Okay. Hi. This is about the facade program, if I can answer that. How long, like from application to approval for that, is that process?
I'm not sure exactly from it's a case-by-case basis. Each home is different. The work that's required is different. So, there is no specific answer from the day you apply to this day is when you'll receive an answer, and this is when your project will be completed. It's like any purchase or service. It all depends on the individual. So, hope I answered your question, but if you didn't get one of these, I'll make sure I can give you this as well, because this speaks specifically to that program, and there are plenty of these here and also back there. All right? Okay. I guess we'll come back over this way. So I'll start with this gentleman right here. Hopefully some of the questions that are being answered you all had, and so therefore they're being covered. Yes. Oh, you want to?
Folks, please speak into the microphone because it's being recorded and broadcasted live. So the questions that you ask may be questions that a resident at home wanted to ask. So that's why we're making sure that everybody has the microphone and everybody is audible.
Just a quick question. How many properties are under the program?
Right. So I mentioned earlier that we're starting with a first batch, so there'll be several dozen in the first tranche. The city, as we know, we have city-owned property in terms of the inventory. That's one of our biggest assets. And so as those properties come online, those have been eligible is great because you're already in the pipeline. You've already been deemed eligible by NACA, but for the first tranche, you're talking about a few dozen or so properties. Let's come back over here. This woman here.
Thank you. From registration to actually moving in the house, approximately how long would that take? Like if you qualify, you bring in all your papers and you qualify, how long would the process take to actually be living in the house?
So, I guess I could defer to you unless you want me to, I can start off. So, first and foremost, this is a new program, right? So, there are also different types of city-owned parcels that'll be purchased. I see your hand. So, therefore, there may be a vacant lot, or you could already have a lot with a structure on it that just need rehab, to be rehabbed. So, again, there really is no one size fits all to this. And again, it is new, so can't necessarily give you a definitive timeline. However, I will say that NACA is in place, our partners are in place, they have their lenders in place in order to expedite this, because to your point, this is something where we want to see as many Newark residents in homes as quickly as possible, whether that be new construction or existing structures. So, you have any more to add to that or no?
The only thing that I would add in terms of timeline is really at this stage, your focus should be on preparing for home ownership, right? Focus on attending the event, learning about the organization, and qualifying for the mortgage. The actual administrative process of the properties becoming available, what's going to be available, those things are going to play out over a time that we don't really have the timeline for. But I can assure you that the thing that you have control over is preparing yourself for home ownership. And once you have prepared yourself for home ownership will make itself available to you. I believe that. And I have 3 years experience that speaks to that as well.
Before we come back over the side, we'll get a hand right here and then we'll make our way back over.
So a lot of houses in Newark have oil tanks in the backyard or underneath the houses, right? And in order to remove them, sometimes there's oil spills or whatever. Now, do you guys help with that, with the removal of the oil tanks of these properties? Because a lot of Newark properties, especially these old properties, have oil tanks underneath them. And in order for us to move them out, the cost could be anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. And if there's an oil spill, it could be anywhere to $100,000 from what I've read. Now, do you guys help with that?
So that would be covered as part of the home inspection process. It's not uncommon for properties that are listed on the MLS to have oil tanks. And at that point, once the inspector identifies that there's an oil tank, the first question to the seller is, has the oil tank been properly decommissioned? And if it has been, then you have to provide documentation showing that it has been properly decommissioned. If the seller doesn't have evidence that it's been properly decommissioned, then one of the things that'll take place is, the inspector will recommend a soil sample to sample the soil to see if there's any contamination. That in general usually gives you an idea of what your level of exposure would be associated with the oil tank. And at that point, you could either make a decision, it's probably most favorable just to remove it, which is something that can be included in your renovation budget. It would be factored into the costs of renovations. There's always the concern that once you remove that oil tank, the cost or the scope could increase significantly, but that's where due diligence comes into play and the soil samples.
Yeah, but they said that in order for you to qualify for a mortgage, banks won't give you a loan unless that is resolved. When you're buying this house, they don't care who was living in it before. If you're gonna move in it now, you're required to remove it, because I was looking into buying homes a few years ago, and that was one of the, that was one of the things that were very concerning, especially
Okay.
in the city of Newark, because the city of Newark has so many of them.
So it's a risk. If you buy a property with an existing oil tank, it's not that the lender won't finance it. In most circumstances, when you do a home inspection, you're doing it for your due diligence. The lender never sees the home inspection report. The only way the lender will know that there's a abandoned oil tank if there's an existing record of it, or when they send out the appraiser to appraise the property, the appraiser identifies that there's an abandoned underground oil tank. But as a part of this process, it's going to be covered in your scope of work. So the lender will sign off on a loan, understanding that there are funds set aside to remedy the oil tank.
All right, we have to stop here on the oil tank.
Okay.
At this moment, the point is that it's designed to be covered in your scope of work. There could be a million what ifs, but we just want to make sure that we cover that. So hopefully that not only spoke to your question, but other people that may have had that question as well. As we make our way back around, we'll go to the gentleman in the back in the gray with the hat on. Your hand up.
Hold on. Wait for the microphone. Wait for the mic.
The eligibility criteria, is this the criteria for a NACA mortgage or the criteria to participate in the home purchase? Say someone has enough money that they don't need to get a mortgage and could pay for the repairs or construction themselves, how would that be handled?
So if all the eligibility criteria applies to people who go through this program. So if you don't necessarily need this program for a mortgage, then you can go the traditional route. The cost of land is only the $1, right? What may the price of the mortgage can come from the renovation or the rehab per se. So all of the eligibility criteria applies. If you don't necessarily feel as though you fall under this eligibility criteria, then there are many other ways in order to purchase homes. This specific program requires this specific eligibility. You want to say something? Go ahead.
So the most important eligibility criteria is that as you go through NACA, you can't own other property. But regardless of your income, you should come. Regardless of your assets, you should come. It's just not for investors going through the program. What you do after you purchase your home through NACA, then you have to live in that property, but then you can buy any other investments out there. So we're not going to penalize anybody who has more income or penalize anybody who has more assets. If that answers your question.
Yeah, you can go ahead if you want to answer.
So specifically to the gentleman's question, it would be in your interest, even if, let's say you had $200,000 in savings and you want to do the renovation with your $200,000, you could contribute $175,000 to the renovations and use the NACA mortgage for the $26,000, right? And your mortgage would be $200 a month, if that, $100 a month. So that's how we would structure it so that it works for your circumstances. Does that make sense? Yep.
We're going to go, the woman back here with the scarf on, you haven't asked your question, right? I know your hand's been up for a while, so okay. And then we'll go back over the side of the room.
So I have quite a few residents that I deal with, and I didn't hear anything about Section 8. Does NACA deal with Section 8?
So I mean, it does. You've heard a number of things about Section 8, particularly Invest Newark has a program, NACA has a program. I'll let Bruce tackle that. That's not his.
I've got to answer that question. So we have this unbelievable program. It's called HOT PHA, Home Ownership Through Public Housing Assistance. You take your payment standard, the Section 8. Instead of paying it to the landlord, you paid for the mortgage. But because we have a 20-year mortgage, the government will pay for 15 years, and we can actually reduce that gap. So it's an outstanding program using the Section 8 payments, and it's the best program in the country to do that. So you know, we do that. We're doing that with Mayor Baraka here in Newark, and we've done unbelievable success with that program. So again, you use your Section 8 payment for the payment standard. We get it done with using a 20-year mortgage. So you need to come through the same process to get NACA qualified. But what's nice is that we don't look at what your income is, because whatever you're qualified with your Section 8 housing choice voucher, that's the payment standard. That's what we use for your mortgage payment. So it's an outstanding program for doing that. But we will have you do the same standards, you know, that we do in qualifying anybody else. Same thing, except your income is subsidized.
Thanks, Bruce. And as I mentioned before Bruce came up, our very own Invest Newark has a Section 8 home ownership program as well. So the great thing is you have two different options. First of all, this is somewhat of a new opportunity here in Newark. And the fact that we have two options is great. You can always visit Invest Newark online or in person here in the city in order to find out more information about their programs. But again, for those of you at home who are listening, those who are gathered, you actually have more than one option for Section 8 home ownership programs between NACA and Invest Newark. So as we go over here, the gentleman here, and then I'll go over here in the corner. Yes. Well, hold on a second. He'll bring you the mic. That way, folks who are at home can hear you.
Peace. So it was mentioned that the NACA program requires that a project is completed about 6 months, right? And I do know that when it comes to inspections and permits and stuff like that, sometimes these people takes a long period of time to get these certificates out to complete the projects. So is there any assistance that you guys are getting from the city to speed this process? So no one won't be caught out there after 6 months.
You want to speak to the 6 month?
So the 6 months is a pretty stringent requirement by our lender. There is some flexibility if there's a justifiable reason for the project delays. Anything that's outside of your control or outside of the control of your contractor, we can justify that, and the lender will allot more time. They're not going to allot more time for the 6 month mortgage forbearance. So after that 6 month period, if your project is not done and you can't move in, you will have to start paying your monthly mortgage payment.
So there's one thing I want to add. Why the 6 months? Because the lender's eating the cost for the 6 months. Because you cannot pay your rent and a mortgage at the same time. So what it is that the amount of the mortgage payments for 6 months is added on to the loan, but then the interest rate is reduced by 0.375%. So the payment stays the same. In essence, the lender's eating that 6 months of mortgage payment. So that's where the 6 months comes into. But you're right, we're working in partnership with the city to make sure that that can be done within that 6 month period.
And to get more to your specific question, because I understand what you're asking and why you're asking it. Just want to reiterate, this project is a major priority, and we believe that this will certainly help transform not only families and lives, but also whole communities as we begin to unveil this program and get Newark residents into homes. It is not the aim of the city in order to create a barrier, right? So the low cost of the land, the partnership with NACA and Invest Newark, all these things have been put in place. I spoke to you approximately a year ago. We sat down and began thinking about this program. So it's not the city's aim to serve as a barrier in order for this program to be successful. So in that, it certainly won't be the city that holds up the process. So we are very much aware of where these properties will be going, and we'll be looking to support those who made that purchase and are taking that leap, because this is an investment that you all are making, whether it's $1 or not. It's an investment, and so we recognize that, and we want you to be successful in this program. Was there another hand all the way over here in the corner? I know earlier there were 3. Okay. As we come back on. Okay. Yes. Hold on. We need to get you on the mic so that way those who are at home can hear you.
Okay. Say if you wanted to go through NACA, but Section 8 telling you if you go through NACA, you lose your Section 8. Or if you go through any other program that the city have or whatever, you lose your Section 8. What do you do then?
I'm trying to understand your problem.
Okay.
Your question.
In my situation, I have a disabled son, so I got tired of landlords promising me that I could put a ramp up for my son. So I went out and tried to get a mortgage on my own. Section 8 told me that if I go out and do it go through NACA, I signed up for one of y'all seminars and all of that. They told me if I go through NACA, that they was going to take my Section 8 away from me. But I didn't care, really. I didn't care. So I still went on with the process of trying to get a home, because this is for my son, to better my son's ability. So I went through lenders and got approved, all of that, but I'm thinking if I have Section 8, why can't I use my Section 8, but everybody else can in Newark, but I can't use mine?
Yeah, so I can't speak to why that would have been a response from Section 8. I just know that we have a relationship here at Invest Newark with the Newark Housing Authority. So anyone who's interested in that type of program should obviously, I know NACA mentioned their Section 8 program, but also ours here at Invest Newark. I can't really speak to why you would have been told that or why you wouldn't be able to. Does that sound like a common, something that you've heard of before in terms of a challenge or barrier and how we might speak to it? If not, it's not a problem. We can talk offline.
They said it was because my Section 8 is state, not city.
All right.
Like county.
All right.
Mine's is state. Right. Mine's is Department of Community Affairs.
All right.
So they told, that one. So they told me that I couldn't use, I had to go through them, and I had made $25,000 a year, which I do, but it's through my son. And because it's through my son, they don't count it. So they don't count as me having an income. So
if I can answer that, so we really, the Section 8 program, no one is doing it on the level that we're doing that at NACA. So we're working with the Newark Housing Authority, other housing authorities around the state, so you can transfer the Section 8 and the federal ones. And we're working with HUD to streamline that process. So the advice is stick in there. It's a great program. It's a game changer. We'll work through all the particularities, because the housing authorities have to coordinate with each other, and you got the state and local and the federal. So we can deal with your individual circumstances either here or when you come to the event. Because either way, you have to get NACA qualified.
Wait, hold on. You need the folks at home to be able to.
what if you already been approved for a loan, but your co-signer scores went down, so that made it impossible for you to get the mortgage or whatever? So do you still qualify for that?
It's a little specific and outside of the context of this particular meeting. So you and I can speak after the meeting offline, and then I can give you specific answers catered towards your circumstances. All right?
Like, sure. You'll come in.
Thank you. Two quick questions. I know there's a lot of moving parts with the program, but is there a date range for the release of the list of properties? And is there a date range for the lottery? Because I imagine that's going to be a public event as well. Thank you.
Can I answer that one thing? So we get a lot of questions on the lotteries. What's going to happen? I want to be very clear on that. You have to be NACA qualified, okay? So once you're NACA qualified, you're going to get an email and contacted if you're interested in those those properties. So it doesn't matter when, you have to be NACA qualified. What does that mean? Because if you're NACA qualified, that means you'll be able to both get in the lottery, and if you're selected, you'll be able to get approved and through the bank quickly, okay? So that means, again, focus on getting NACA qualified, then you'll be notified, and then you can put your name in the hat as part of the lottery.
I just need a point of clarification. The 116.9 AMI, is that per individual or per household total?
Yeah, so that will be for household. It's all dependent upon household size, right? Who's next? Let's come back over here. This young lady right here. Oh, right here. I'm sorry. Right here. Yeah, right here, and then we go to the back. Yeah, her right there with the hand.
Hi, you mentioned that for the first 6 months that the interest rate is going to go down while the renovations or rehab is in process. But after that 6 months, is a mortgage fixed or variable?
So the question was, with the 6-month PITI add-on, which is where you have your mortgage payment deferred for 6 months or in forbearance, she asked whether or not the reduction in the interest rate is over the life of the loan, and the answer is yes, absolutely. So all of our mortgages only include fixed interest rates.
We can go to that young lady right there and then right here.
So my question is about the lottery situation. You said that you picked 3 homes, but what if I'm not picked for either of the 3? What's the next process?
So then you remain. So then you will remain eligible. You would just remain on a wait list. That's why I mentioned earlier in terms of how many properties we'll be unveiling with the first tranche, and we'll continue to add properties to that list. So it's a good chance based on the numbers of folks who we have interested and who will become eligible after engaging with NACA that you wouldn't necessarily get a home first go around depending upon the numbers. That doesn't mean that the opportunity goes away. You just have to wait until we have more properties online. This woman right here? Oh. Oh, okay, all right. I mean, we got a lot of people here with questions. We'll get to you eventually. Yeah.
You next after this.
Yeah, it was just her right there.
My t-shirt.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks.
Good evening. NACA, can you tell me a little bit if you have products for our undocumented community members, ones that may have ITINs?
So we used to do ITIN lending, meaning to undocumented home buyers, and it had the best performance in the mortgage industry. People make the mortgage payments. So it's really important. We do not do that now, but we're going to get that done. That's really important that we do that because people pay taxes. Everybody deserves an opportunity to be a homeowner. So that is a #1 priority. And if we have to do it as NACA lending ourselves, we will do that because everybody needs to be covered. We don't do it now. It is frustrating, but we're going to get that done.
Let's get him right here, and then we'll go back over to that part of the room and just go through. Oh, wait a minute. You asked a question already, right? Yeah, let's go to some people who haven't. Yeah. Yes, we can go back to that side of the room. Are there any questions over here?
Hey, what happened to my guy right here?
Okay. Huh? Okay. All right. Since we're here, right?
I just wanted to know, am I allowed to purchase a multi-dwelling or multi-family home jointly with other family members? And also I want to thank all of y'all and the mayor for this program.
Yes, I'll quickly, I'll just quickly just tell you all, yes, you can, this is for between 1 and 4 family homes. So you this can be used for a multifamily. Between 1 and, you're right, that was quick. And now he's right. All right, who is next? Where are we? All right, where's is the mic? Got the mic.
All right. Who we going to? Who's next?
Over there in the corner.
Who? Right here?
And then this gentleman over here. I haven't forgot about you.
Just tell me who, where, who am I going to?
Who was it?
Sister right here?
All right, let's.
What I want to know is if this meeting is being video recorded, and if it is, where can I view it later?
Yeah, so good question. This is being broadcast on channel 78, of course, which of course re-airs community programming. And it was live streamed over the municipal council, the clerk's online service, the same way you view
YouTube.
council meetings.
So it's broadcasting now on 78, and it should be up on the city's YouTube channel, if not this evening, by tomorrow. So you can watch it on the city's YouTube channel as of tomorrow. Channel 78 is broadcasting right now on channel 78, and they're going to re-air it as they do, most programs. But if you want to go, if you don't have channel 78, if you don't have cable and you need to go online, it'll be on the city's YouTube channel as well. YouTube, the city's YouTube channel, the City of Newark's YouTube channel.
Who's next? We can go to him, and then we'll go back over to this gentleman over here.
Good evening. How does the NACA program go about hiring contractors?
You want to take that?
Yeah. So that was a great question. His question was, how does the NACA program go about hiring contractors? So it's the responsibility of the member to choose their own contractor. Now, we have a list of NACA approved contractors. If you intend to work with a contractor that's not on that list, then that contractor will have to go through the process of approval, which is just verifying their experience, that they're properly licensed, and that they're insured. Now, we do have an initiative whereby we're working to compile a list of preferred contractors here in the city of Newark, and to offer those out as first list of contractors for you to choose from. But at the end of the day, you'll have discretion over what contractor you work with. Ideally, you'll work with someone that we vetted and that's a part of the community.
Thanks. That gentleman? Him right there. Yeah.
All right. One question about the eligibility. I ain't had nobody bring it up. Debt to income ratio. Now, if somebody has a high debt to income ratio, do they still qualify? Because if they got car notes, student loans, and everything, and can't pay the mortgage, do you still qualify them?
The answer is, if you can't pay the mortgage, no, you don't qualify. We're not going to put you in a situation that's unaffordable. So our focus is affordable home ownership. We have a vetted process that works for many, many years. Our mortgage to default rate is less than 0.0001 over a 30-year period, and it's because of the counseling process that we have in place. So we do look at two ratios, front end ratio, which is 33%, and the back end ratio, which is 43%, which factors in all of your debt plus whatever the monthly mortgage payment would be. There's a lot of other things that you can look at when you look at affordability, particularly if you're interested in purchasing a multifamily home. That gives you a little more flexibility in terms of what you can afford, because we factor in 75% of the rental income for each unit. So you can kind of do the math and see how just the rental income alone creates some affordability. As long as your debt to income ratio doesn't exceed 43%, then there should be enough meat on the bones for us to work with. $5 for the second question. And we're also hiring for counselors as well. So if you're interested, you can see me at the end, and I can definitely give you an application. I would love to have you on my team. But we can talk more detail about, the different levers and debt to income ratios.
Yeah, and I know we mentioned, we emphasized the number 78, right, for Optimum, channel 78, but also on Fios is channel 28. Channel 28 on Fios, channel 78 on Optimum. And also mentioned earlier, but it'll be on the city clerk's YouTube page, right? So the City of Newark City Clerk's YouTube page, the same way we're able to view municipal council meetings on YouTube, you'll be able to go there and replay this as well. So one last time, Optimum channel 78, Fios channel 28, and also the City of Newark Office of the Clerk's YouTube channel, if you want to see this again.
Thank you for taking time for this, by the way. It was mentioned that modular homes would be used for the vacant lots. Do we have the plans for these homes or designs for them that we could look at?
So, So if you take a look, you all received a handout. And at this point, if somebody from NACA wants to come up and speak to that as an option.
So the question was, are there design concepts available for the modular homes? We do have some high-level designs. There's a handout that speaks to a little bit of the technology. For the most part, the modular homes are going to offer considerable construction cost savings. We're looking at maybe about $85 per square foot. In terms of the actual technology itself, it's extremely, extremely energy efficient. So the net cost is expected to be about 75% that you'll save on the cost of utilities. In terms of durability and overall structure, it's probably twice as strong as a traditional stick-built home. We have some studies that show how it can withstand a hurricane, more so where a stick build might be toppled or completely leveled. So when you come to the event, we're going to have a model, as I mentioned earlier, of the designs, and you'll also be able to touch the technology, see what the panels are made of, and have questions answered directly by the builder.
Thank you. I have a question. So the mortgage, right? What about the water systems and stuff like that? Are we responsible in paying for that separately, or is it all included with the mortgage and everything?
Which systems did you
The
ask?
water system, like, Yeah.
The utilities?
Yes, like the monthly cycles that you have to pay for in the city of Newark.
So her question
Are we
is,
responsible for that?
do you have to pay for your utility costs separate from your monthly mortgage payment? The answer is yes. So your monthly mortgage payment will include the principal repayment on the loan, the monthly interest, the monthly property taxes, and your homeowner's insurance. So aside from that pertaining to your home, you'll be responsible for any maintenance that you need to have on your home and also your monthly utility costs, which includes gas, electric, and water.
Yeah, Gregory, so we want to put these up on the screen. Yes, please. Regarding the modular homes, we want to put that up there in a second, right? And then you can do the first six to speak to that question.
Yeah, Bruce can talk about it. Let me go grab him.
So he's not here? All right. All right, you got the microphone for him? Thank you. Thanks.
So is this a one-time thing? Like, if you don't qualify now, can you reapply, or is this it?
Yeah, so thanks for that question. I know I touched on it, so I'll make sure I reiterate the fact that it's not a one-time thing, it's not transactional, this is a long-term project. What's going to happen is you're going to be deemed eligible by NACA by going through all of the steps of the program that were outlined earlier and that they've mentioned in order to ensure success. Is how they had that extremely low foreclosure rate. But what happens is that, again, the eligibility doesn't disappear, it doesn't go away. The only thing that you'll be waiting for at that time is the availability of more properties. That's why I also spoke to initially what the expectation should be, and that is that we have a first tranche, which will then be followed up by more properties. And so as those properties become available, folks who are eligible will then become, can then take advantage of those opportunities as well. Yeah, absolutely. There was a question regarding the modular homes, and we can put that up on the screen, please? And then we'll go to the other questions. Yep.
So one of the big problems out there is you can be NACA qualified for the best mortgage in America, but these corporate investors are paying cash for the properties. So how do you deal with that? One thing is we're doing the advocacy campaign against Blackstone and those Wall Street investors who are stealing the dream from affordable home ownership, buying those properties and renting them out at exorbitant rents. So we got to take on that fight. But secondly is that we got to build affordable housing, right? So how do you build it that's the highest quality and that's going to be affordable? Well, one way to do it is modular housing. Modular housing that's factory built. So you use structural panels that are insulated. So here I'm going to do a few slides that will actually give you a sense of that. I'm not sure whether you can see them or.
Yeah, they can see it right up in the screen. Go
forward. This one, okay. So I don't know whether you can see it. Oh, you can see it there. Great. So what you see, so we are working with a company called Vantum. And what you can see there is the Vantum, they have these really solid insulated panels. So it saves 75% of the energy costs. And there's solid structure there, so there's no beam, there's no structural beam. The whole wall is a structural wall. So you can see there that they are re-insulated to save the energy cost. This is how they do it. This is how they put them together. So you're buying the modular unit, and that's some of the housing that you can see. You can do single family, 2-story, so it fits in to the neighborhood. Now we believe that we can get these at $85 a square foot. So what does that mean? At $85 a square foot, a 1,200 square foot unit, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, kitchen, living area, that's $100,000. And then you add into it the foundation and the hookups and the free land from the city of Newark, Mayor Baraka, and you're talking about a mortgage of about $115,000, a mortgage payment of about $750 a month. That's a game changer. So we're looking at actually, we might actually buy a factory to do this because we got to do this on scale. So it's both the advocacy and the operations, and I can show you. So this is a factory as an example of a factory. So you're doing the mass production inside so you get the highest quality. And this is some of the housing that has been built. and the savings costs on the affordability, because you're building a factory, are over 20%. Remember, there's no developer in there. These properties are the $1 home ownership program goes from the city to you, the home buyers. And then you're saving the energy costs. So that just gives you a sense of what we're trying to do on scale. You know, this is not just one of those one-offs on a few units. We're talking hundreds and hundreds and thousands of units to be able to do this on a large scale.
Thanks. Hopefully that gave you a little bit more insight into the opportunity for the modular homes, able to give you the visual as well. So thank you. Thank you, Bruce. For the last 10 minutes here, do we have a few more questions? Any more questions? Is that a hand I see all the way in the back? Okay. So let's start here since we're here, and then we'll go back to that gentleman in the back. And we have just under 10 minutes left, so I definitely thank you all for coming out, for participating in this, for asking great questions that I know not only were for your benefit, but also for the benefit of others who may not have been in this space, but who had the same questions that you had. So we'll continue with that for the next 10 minutes.
Okay, so my question is, if I heard the gentleman correctly, the new homes, the new construction homes, these are single-family units? These are single-family homes?
Yes.
And multi? Okay. And then the second question that I had is, considering the income, is this considering gross income or net income?
I mean, you all want to talk about, well, so the one word I'll use is gross. I don't know if you want to elaborate any more on that, but.
So 2 questions. The first was the new construction modular homes, is it applicable for single family and multifamily? The answer is yes. We'll be able to go up to 3 stories, which means that you can go up to 3 units right now. And sometime in the future, we anticipate we'll be able to go up to 4 stories. So that means you can do a single family, you can do a 2 or 3 family. The second question was your affordability is based upon your gross income. So just high level, maximum affordability is going to be 33% of your gross monthly income. If you're looking at a single family home, whatever that number is, that's going to be the maximum payment we'll qualify you for. If you're looking at a multifamily, we add 75% of the rent to that, and that determines what payment you'll qualify for.
The gentleman all the way in the back in the black, in the hat. He's right there. Will you raise your hand again so he can, no, it was the, okay, he changed his mind.
Good evening. I was wondering, because you said that y'all had started...
I need you to speak into the mic, I'm sorry.
Oh, when you spoke, you said that this has been an ongoing program. Y'all been doing this for some years. You said that you had partaken of, the NACA home ownership program. My question was for you, how long did it take you for your process to be complete? And secondly, when it come down to this new pilot program that y'all starting in the city of Newark, would your old people that was approved but didn't have the space or the property be put in this lottery with this new pilot program for the new people that's coming in? You understand my question?
So there were like 3 questions. One about existing members who've already qualified and will they be able to participate? The answer is yes, absolutely. So we're going to compile a list of all qualified NACA members who live in the city of Newark, and then we'll reach out to them. If they indicate that they're interested, then we'll send them the list of properties.
Wait, hold on, slow down a second. Hold on. First we need to make, okay, because we need to make sure your question is registered, but we also only have like 2 minutes. So it sounds like some of this you might be able to want to discuss with NACA afterwards or at a different time, particularly if you're already enrolled in NACA. The majority of people may not necessarily be in that circumstance, so we want to make sure that that specific issue is something that you speak to. But
I just
the
want
great
to
thing is
clarify 2 things. One, it's not a pilot program. This is the program. We have the process in place. Now it's just a matter of executing on that process. So it's not a matter if, it's when. The second part of your question was our organization, we've existed for over 30 years. Over 75,000 homeowners are homeowners by way of NACA. I've been with the organization for a little over 3 years. I've personally helped over 200 families purchase homes through this program. I've purchased my home through the program within a year of becoming employed. A lot of other people, my process was a little different because of my own personal circumstances, so it all depends.
So the one thing, so if you heard what I said at the beginning, I said one of the things that people criticize NACA about was it takes too long to get through the process. We've changed that. So now that we have the member portal, people control how fast they get through, and that means that once you complete the stuff in the member portal, you will get a counseling appointment within 2 weeks. Once you complete that stuff, so we have done that. So we've given the control and the timing to you, the home buyers, in this process. And that's how we're able to do this on such a large number of people. Because we're going to have, at this event, we're going to have 20,000 people come. And everybody's important. So everybody's individual circumstances are different. But we've got this. And we can do it on a large scale. Thank you.
Thanks. I guess I should end on that note, right? We'll have time for one more question. It looks, and I see multiple hands go up when I say that. The woman back there in the rear, is anybody with a, Gregory? Greg, do you have a, okay, thanks. Can somebody get on mic? Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Okay.
So I have 2 questions. One of them was, are we going to be using your own realtors, or can we use our own? And also, I want to know, can we use at least only 1 year of income tax, or should we be showing 2 years?
Yeah. So you had 2 questions there. What's the role of a realtor?
So yes, we have the NACA. We have the NACA realtors. You can use any realtor you want, any realtor that you want. And the second thing, it really depends on your type of income. Self-employed, 1 year tax returns. We will work with you on that piece, because the tax returns are not an accurate reflection often of what's one's actual income. I know I shouldn't say that, but you know, that's the reality of life. So we look at the reality out there. It depends on your individual circumstances.
This gentleman right here, was your hand up, sir? No? Okay. And this woman right here, are you the last hand? No. No? Okay. All right, so this one last hand right here, and then we'll wrap it up. And we certainly thank you all for coming out. We thank you for the excitement. We're excited. We're excited for the city.
So if you have a high debt to income ratio, but you sign an offer for a higher paying job that's going to increase your salary by like $30,000, can you show that offer letter, although you probably didn't start the job yet?
So the most important factor in terms of ratios is how much of your gross income you pay for the housing payment. Because the fact of the matter is, when you close on your house, your total debts are going to go up because you're going to buy all those fancy things for your house, right? So we're now working with Bank of America to increase the debt to income ratio that's out there, because we understand that that's not an accurate reflection of the reality once someone purchases a house.
And on that note, I just want to thank everyone for coming out and reiterate a couple things. First, if anyone, again, is interested in seeing this broadcast again, it's available on Optimum Channel 78, FiOS Channel 28, and online on the City of Newark City Clerk's YouTube channel. All right. We want to thank, of course, the mayor, Mayor Rajay Baraka, for creating this program, bringing us all together. Certainly want to thank our partners who are here, NACA, Invest Newark. We will continue to work to make sure that this program is something that will serve as a model. Again, it's also not a quick transaction. We're in this for the long term, and we look forward to seeing those first homeowners, and then the next wave of homeowners, and then the next wave of homeowners. So with all that being said, we thank you for coming out. May everyone get home safely. Thanks. And last but not least, we want to make sure everybody remembers, we've been saying this a few times all throughout the night, but you have to become eligible, deemed eligible through NACA, and the opportunity to do that will be at the 5-day event. So no. It's a 5-day event which should enable people the opportunities, more people to come. And to Gregory's response earlier, if you come during an earlier day and you need to present something or go something, that gives you an opportunity to come back another day. So we thank you. Good night. Good job. Thank you. Oh.